What's up? This is EJ Stewart.
What if I drop 40 days, 40 nights?
One, you can't do it.
All you are your words. If there's anything you learned about me, I'm going to keep it 100 with you.
Every morning, every night, for 40 days.
Going to be a long 40 days this year.
My skill shot will hold for your city for 40 days, 40 nights.
Rest in peace to all my ops.
For 40 days. If I can do that, then everything will be okay.
You're the guy who can't finish a sandwich. You think you can go 40 days? This isn't normal!
Oh, you're wrong, brother. I'm gonna go the distance.
Let's go!
Let's go is right. What's up? This is EJ Stewart. You are watching 40 Days, 40 Nights. We're up to night 28 of this Odyssey where your boy, EJ Stewart, does 2 live streams per day. 1 at 8 a.m., 1 supposedly at 6 p.m. Apologies for the lateness. My computer is not behaving today at all. And it's still not behaving, which is beautiful. So apologies for that again, for being a little late today. This was all a technical issue that didn't allow me to start. That's why I had to start and restart. It's been a little bit of a mess. But we're going to get this thing rolling. It's going to be a fun show because we're going to talk about Kevin Durant, who finally came out and said nothing. No, he got to respond. We talked about it earlier this morning. We wanted to know what was going on. Was he the person behind the burner account? He would not say yes. He would not say no. I think a non-denial is certainly incriminating, but we will break it down for you all in just a second. We'll also talk about the future of Kyrie Irving, because Kyrie Irving will miss this upcoming season. He was working his way back. He's deciding that now it's best for him at this point forward to just say, you know what, let's just call it a season and we'll work towards next year, which makes sense for a lot of different reasons. I think, though, some of the wording coming from his agent and his stepmom makes me believe that that next chapter is not going to be in Dallas. That next season, when he does make his eventual return, that he's going to be somewhere else. And so we'll get down to that. We also got some NBA video game news, something that we haven't quite gotten to so much. We have talked a little bit about WWE 2K, but besides that, we haven't gotten a huge thing when it comes to talking video games. But we're going to talk video games today because I can't wait for this. We're going to have college basketball back in play when it comes to moving forward with NBA 2K adding Season 5 of their patch, which is going to include college basketball games. We have not had college basketball in more than 16 years. I'll be honest, I thought about this and looked at what they presented as a new patch for Season 5 that's going to include some players and some colleges. It's kind of ho-hum. Whatever you felt when they announced that they were going to be dropping the new college football game, the hysteria that happened all over the internet during that night when that happened, that is not this. I'll tell you, that is not this. This is going to be a lot smaller now. Apparently, there will be a bigger drop for college basketball for next year, so I guess we have that to look forward to. But if you're talking about for today and what you're going to be getting from this patch that's going to be rolling out soon, this was a little underwhelming if you ask me. So we'll break that down. And then John Cena. We haven't talked about him in a little while. He brings up a story that I have never heard from him, to be honest. I don't think anybody's heard. The possibility that Roman Reigns' 1,000+ day streak of being Universal Champion may not have lasted as long had creative had their initial plans in place. A lot to get to, man. 40 Days, 40 Nights with your boy EJ Stewart again. Streaming live on YouTube, New Generation Media. Shout out to the folks on YouTube. Thanks so much for the patience. Apologies if you're jumping around a little bit. Again, I know I kind of threw everybody off where we went live. And again, my computer has not been acting great today. So hopefully this show should go okay. But just in terms of getting the setup ready, it just didn't want to cooperate. So hopefully if you find folks who are looking for this stream, send them here. We're live, we're up, we're running, we're all good to go. But we're streaming live now on YouTube, New Generation Media. Streaming live on X, EJ_Stewart. And streaming live on Instagram, another aspect that was struggling a little bit earlier, which was why I had to restart my stream. But we're good to go, man. We're going to rock and roll, and this is going to be a lot of fun. So let's talk about Kevin Durant. So we talked about this at length yesterday. We talked about it a little bit today. So Kevin Durant really kind of was the other big story coming out of All-Star Weekend because of the allegations that he was using a burner account that included him slandering various different players, his own teammates in the NBA, other players in the NBA, coaches, and that he had been working under the handle, and this is real, apparently, in terms of the handle. I don't know if it's him, but the handle, Get Off My Dickerson 25. Get Off My Dickerson, 77, not even 25. Get Off My Dickerson 77 was the name of this apparent account that Kevin Durant was using to talk to strangers, complete strangers. Like, this is not, oh, here's a bunch of people that I know that I'm friends with. Just random other anonymous accounts to talk about basketball and all different other things. He was using this account to vent frustrations about various different topics, whether it was his time with the Warriors, whether it was time with the Suns, whether it was current time with the Houston Rockets, or just observing the league and other people around the league that he doesn't seem to have a lot of love for. And this got leaked. No idea why it got leaked. I don't know if there was a falling out that happened. I don't know what's going on, but I don't know if you get into a anonymous chat, group chat with a bunch of people you don't know. It doesn't seem like the most secure thing in the world. And we now got to see these messages. We had no indication and no firm proof that this was actually Kevin Durant behind these messages, so it was unclear until we actually heard from the God, as he likes to call himself, about whether or not this was actually true. So we've been waiting at bated breath to hear from KD to find out if the burners were his. He spoke after practice today. Here's what he had to say.
I know you gotta ask these questions, but I'm not here to get into Twitter nonsense. I'm just going to see and keep it pushing. But I know I get feel happy.
Give him your mic.
My teammates know what it is. We've been locked in the whole season. So in our break, we had break practice today. Looking forward to the road trip.
I know the sound wasn't the greatest. It's been hard to get good sound on that, but to relay that to you if you did not understand. He said, I'm not going to get into Twitter nonsense. No. Of all the people that now wants to downplay social media, Kevin Durant, of all the athletes, is the absolute last person that can refer to social media as quote-unquote Twitter nonsense, particularly his involvement with it, because he is obsessed with X. He's on this app all the time. He's always interacting with randos on the internet. And now he's like, I'm not going to get into Twitter nonsense. That's not important. Meanwhile, just a couple of days ago, he was asked about, how much he loves Twitter. And he was like, oh, I'm so good at Twitter. You guys don't even reserve this greatness I'm giving you guys on social media. And today, I think this was the funniest answer he could have came up with. Like, I was like, what is he going to say? Because I didn't know how you do this. I said it before, I think it's him. It's the cadence of how he talks. He loves social media. He doesn't seem to be deterred at all by the idea of being in conversations with randos on the internet and what that could mean for how people view him. He doesn't seem to care about that. So I always thought, this is probably him. If it's not him, why wouldn't you come out and be like, you guys are idiots? It's obviously not me. Because if there's anything Kevin Durant loves more than just Twitter itself, is dunking on people who think they know stuff about him or think that they have some kind of information on him or that they know more than him. There's nothing he loves more. He is in many ways the Aaron Rodgers of the NBA, where he holds grievances, he holds beefs, and he loves telling people, I told you so. That is Kevin Durant at his core. He lives for this. And it's not disrespectful or hyperbole to say this. This is what we see from him on a regular basis. So I've always thought it was him, but if it wasn't, there's no person that would have loved him more to come out on his own social media account, Kevin Durant, whatever it is, I think it's KD Trey 5, and come out and say, you guys are complete, utter idiots. You dopes. You really thought some random Get Off My Dickerson 77 was me this whole time? Are you guys serious? You dummies. Ha 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 ha. Gotcha again, losers. He would have been well within his right to do that. If that was the case, it would have made sense for him to do that. It's within his nature to do that. I'm not gonna get into Twitter nonsense. You are Twitter nonsense. You are literally Twitter nonsense. You go on social media and you troll people and you get into nonsensical arguments. You get into pointless fights with people. You search your own name after games so you can find people who say bad things about you. You literally are Twitter nonsense. You cannot say I'm not about Twitter nonsense. You are Twitter nonsense. So this guy of all the people to say, no, that's Twitter nonsense. I'm not getting to that. I'm just locked in. Me and my teammate, we're just locked into the NBA season. No, you're not. Sorry. No, you've never been that locked into the NBA season. We have your DMs from your regular account harassing Kevin Durant, Kendrick Lamar stan accounts. We have these now, what feels like, they feel like your tweets. I don't know if they are. Again, I guess we will never know. And if it is you, I guess this is the play you have to make. But for all guys, Kevin Durant to come out and be like, Twitter nonsense. I'm not getting the Twitter nonsense. I saw that and I bust out laughing. I bust out laughing again. Because it's actually unbelievable. It's actually unbelievable. I mean, what can you say? He has no shame. He has no shame. I'm not surprised that he would pull something like this, to be honest, because because he has no shame. Like he's not going to be somebody that's going to look back and say, "Oh, maybe this is a weird look. Maybe I should adjust how I approach this," or actually take, I don't know, accountability. Like there's that aspect, Kevin Durant. Like you can come out and say, for all the crap I talk about how smart I am, how much better I am than everybody at life and at basketball, and how much you guys don't understand on social media, and then you're the guy that thought that it was a smart idea, allegedly, as Jim Rome would say, allegedly, to get into a group chat with a bunch of complete strangers and just slam a bunch of guys that are playing in the NBA, your current teammates, your former teammates, call one of your current teammates who you're supposed to be his mentor, the R word. Like, you did all those things. Maybe if you had some level of, here's a word, humility, you would look back on this and say, maybe it's time for me to look in the mirror, and maybe these people out there are idiots, and maybe they are stupid, and maybe they annoy me to death. But just maybe, I don't know. Crazy idea, crazy thought. Maybe I need to look in the mirror, take a step back, and look at how these tweets look from the outside. Look at how people who are on my team, people who are my former teammates, people that I have relationships with, look at how they look at this and take into account, you know what? Yeah, I was bugging, I was on social media saying stuff I shouldn't have been saying. Apologies to anybody that got offended. Apologies to my current and former teammates. I love my guys. I want to go out there and win a championship for the Rockets, and the best way I can show that I'm locked in is to approach the second half like there's no tomorrow. I don't know what the big deal is of that statement. The big deal about that statement, though, is that would take somebody who, again, shows a level of humility and is not somebody who looks at themselves and thinks that they're better than people. That's the problem, is if you think that people aren't owed that and you don't have any shame, then you don't feel that in your body. You don't feel that in your bones that, ooh, this is a terrible public look for someone who is a very public figure. And he's always Mr. I'm misunderstood and people don't understand me and all this other stuff. And then when you get stuff like this, it's Twitter nonsense now. In some of those DMs, we learned about some of his investments in foreign affairs, and you can invest whatever you want. It's a free country here. You can have any interest you want. I don't really care about what Kevin Durant's doing on that side of his life. But then people want to then bring up, hey, and this is public knowledge, by the way. It's not stuff that was revealed in DMs. It's stuff people already knew. But then people want to get at him when he wants to attack them about their basketball knowledge. Say, hey, what about those investments? And then he's cricket skin. See, this, again, that's the kind of stuff that I keep saying. That's the loser stuff I'm talking about. And I guess it disappoints me just because it doesn't really matter what I think, but I'm an NBA fan. Kevin Durant's one of the greatest players I've ever seen. The fact that this is actually a true facet of the story of this guy's career is completely ridiculous and feels very avoidable. It feels like somebody should have been able to say, hey, I see what you're doing, man, but this is kind of dumb. I know those idiots drive you crazy. The internet's the worst, and I know you're probably tired of hearing all the nonsense. I get it, Kevin, but put the phone down. Let's go out. Let's go out to the club. Let's go get some shots up, which I know he does all that, right? He's a hard worker. He's done everything to put himself in a position to be a great NBA player. But I don't know. Let's go play video. I don't know. Do something else. This is silly. Like this feels like, you know, stuff we were talking about with our kids in like 1999 about, oh, don't get into chat rooms with people you don't know. Like the fact that Kevin Durant's a grown-ass man, and this is what we're talking about with this guy, and he's someone that's supposed to reflect an organization. Remember, when you're an athlete and you're a player, you're a superstar level of Kevin Durant, you're not just, you know, representing yourself. You're representing a community, you're representing a team, you're representing an organization. And I know all the stuff about, well, organization can cut you and all that stuff. All that stuff, we understand that. Get that, who cares? Everybody knows that. I hate when people bring up stuff that everybody knows. We all know that players get cut, traded, blah, 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 blah. But what comes with the money, what comes with the fame, what comes with the stardom is some level of responsibility that you are a face of an organization. You are a face of a brand. Like, these are things that actually matter. Because otherwise, then they can take the money away if you don't want to do any of that stuff. And again, if those things still matter to him, which they should because it pays his bills, I would think that, A, you would not engage in this kind of nonsense. But even B, again, at this point in time, I feel like maybe it's let me get on social media, write a little tweet. Hey, man, I was bugging. Hope my teammates don't take offense to it. I'm going to be the best leader I can be. We're going to go out there. We're going to attack this second half season. We're going to go try and win a championship. And I think people are going to move on anyway because, again, that's why this response, while I think it's cowardly, it fits and it will work for him because we'll just move on to something else tomorrow. Like, we all were waiting for this big Kevin Durant reveal. He showed his face and tucked his tail. That's essentially what he did. He showed his face and tucked his tail. So it ended up being a much to do about nothing in terms of his actual answer, though it does reveal what I think is probably the truth, which is that he probably was the person behind this. But he'll just run out the clock on this. He probably will stay off his main account on social media. I have no idea if this guy will go back to burners. I thought he would have been done with burners years ago when he got exposed the last time, when he was talking about Russell Westbrook and Billy Donovan and the Oklahoma City Thunder. He was trying to defend himself and how weak that looked and how much we clowned him for that. I thought we were done with this back then. So I don't know. Maybe he will be still on social media out there saying, "Oh, you guys got all Kevin Durant wrong. You guys don't understand what's going on." KD fan 852374 says, you guys, Kevin Durant was behind those tweets. See, this is the confirmation you guys were looking for. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, he could go back and do that. But again, someone with some level of like, I don't know, man. Like, at a certain point, again, don't you have shame? Is there no shame? Kevin Durant is one of the most shameless athletes we have in all of sports. He might be the most shameless. He's the most shameless superstar we've had in the NBA probably since Dennis Rodman. Just completely no shame. Like, to sit in front of those people and be like, this is Twitter nonsense. And I will say I did respect, just like with the other question, that I thought was an answer that I thought was fair about when he talked about the All-Star game, mentioned Europeans. I mentioned why I disagree, but I think it was a fair point to bring up. And Doncic and Jokic were awful, so I totally understood that. I did respect that he did like say, hey, listen, I know you got to answer these questions, but that's just how I'm going to approach this, right? I did at least like that part of it, because sometimes there's understanding of like, well, let me be defiant and be like, well, why are you asking me these questions? It's like, what? This is all anybody cares about you right now. No one cares about your next game. No one cares about this road trip you just talked about. No one cares about any about that, about your team and you. They want to know, are you behind these burner accounts or this burner account? And if you are, what are you doing to try to rectify any potential damaged relationships if they are indeed damaged? Maybe they're not. Maybe the guys don't care. That's possible. But I mean, this again. I used to say this all the time when me and Kendall would do a podcast rather, or when we do New Generation Sports Talk, which we gotta get back to. There's gonna be some. I've kind of teased it afterwards. Someone asked me recently in one of these shows. There's going to be some kind of new version of this podcast that's going to continue beyond 40 days and 40 nights. It's not going to be every day. It's not going to be twice a day. I tell you that for damn sure. If someone's about to do this show and then get ready to do a midnight show on WFAN and then finish that and then come back and try to do an 8 a.m. show, this ain't happening again. But what I will say is, I kind of lost my train of thought. But what I'm saying is that, like, I just, when I would do the show with Kendall and we would do New Generation Sports Talk, maybe Sports Talk will be what comes back again. Maybe it was some different version of a show. I would just say, like, yo, like, you're Kevin Durant. Like, I used to keep saying that, and because to me, it just boggles my mind how this is how he behaves. I'm like, you could be literally doing anything. You could find happiness in anything outside of basketball if you want to. You have the world as your oyster because of the great talent you have, the work ethic that you have, and the God-given gifts that you've been given. The fact that you engage in so much negativity for, again, it's not an insignificant amount of time, because he's been doing this for years and he does it at all hours. You can see it. It's tracked. Like, and that's the public facing account. Now, the fact that he's also in the private facing account on social media, engaging with randos, allegedly, it's like, you're Kevin Durant. What are you doing? LeBron James is not doing this. Stephen Curry's not doing this. They don't have time for this. You see what LeBron says? He's obsessed with golf. Like, he's a lot of dudes watch golf videos all day. And I'm obsessed with this sport. I just want to get better at this. That's all I care about. We know Steph. We know how much he loves golf. He's actually a really good golfer. Like, I'm not saying you got to do golf. You can't find anything else that's not negative you can get to spend some time on. Like, again, you're KD. If I was him, I just feel like, I don't know, and there are worse vices. There are much worse vices than social media. I will admit that. You could be doing very destructive things. You could be, there's a lot of things you could be doing that's worse. I get that. But still, this is pathetic. And him to go out there and be like, oh, this was, I'm not going to get into Twitter nonsense. The guy who's the most invested in Twitter is now dismissing it as Twitter nonsense. Is only laughable. It's sad. It is sad, because it's like, this is what this guy's career has come to. He's in the end of his career and he still is on a good team. He's an opportunity to win a championship, and this is what we're asking this guy. We're asking about a burner account where he's talking about comparing, Devin Booker and Frank Vogel to Mussolini and Hitler. Like, this is what we're doing. We shouldn't be doing this. Again, if you had shame, you'd be like, man. And I think he is embarrassed. But if you had shame, you'd be like, I'm bugging. Like, what is actually going on? Or if Rich Kleiman, if you're supposed to be his real friend and his real business partner, and you actually are worried about that bag, because forget about just him being a person. I'm talking about just his bread. Like, if you are just want to secure the money and not make sure that he's not screwing up that, I'd be like, I don't care what you say to me. You could fire me if you want. I'm not letting you get on freaking X for a year or whatever. I'm taking your phone away. This has to end. This is outrageous. You're screwing up a great thing for us potentially with things that are completely unnecessary. And we had a person in the chat say yesterday, like, does he have real friends? And that's why I say it's sad, because I don't know that answer. He will probably tell you, because he's defiant and defensive on everything. Yes. I would argue real friends would be able to get a hold of him and say, you have to stop this. And if he really valued those friends, he would listen to them. Because I know if my friends saw me bugging out, they would come to me and be like, yo, what are you doing here? You got to chill. This is not helpful. This is destructive. This is not in any way constructive to anything you want to do with your life and your career. It's only a liability. This was only a liability. Whatever this little venting that he got to do, allegedly, in this group chat that he got off, it was temporarily fleeting and made him feel good for that hour or that day, and then he was able to move on. And maybe it means he was able to attack his workout better. Maybe he's able to play good the next night. I don't freaking know. But, again, get a diary. Get a therapist. Like, they actually help. I'm not even saying that facetiously. Like, they actually help. They actually help people. I'm not saying that he doesn't. I don't know if he does or not. But the fact that you're pouring into random people on the internet, it's just weird, man. It's just weird behavior. And this was a weak response from Kevin Durant. Be like, oh, Twitter nonsense. Mr. Twitter himself. Come on, give me a break. Let's move on to Kyrie Irving. So, Kyrie Irving, one of the greatest ball handlers ever played in this game. One of the greatest point guards ever played in this game. He's been out all season. He tore his ACL late last year. This was after Luka Doncic trade, and the hope for Nico Harrison, the former Mavs general manager, was that you were going to see a team, with Kyrie Irving running the point and Anthony Davis at the 5 and all these wing defenders, that this is going to be a team that, while missing the star power of Luka Doncic, will be better equipped to compete for an NBA championship, even though they were just in the NBA championship the previous season. I don't know. It don't make sense, but this is what this guy was trying to say. And we never came close to that vision because AD came, he initially got hurt, and then Kyrie got hurt shortly after that, tore his ACL. And then he never got in the court this season because he was still recovering, with the Mavs being in a position where they're not really in legitimate playoff contention. I believe they're 5.5 out of the last spot in the playoffs, if I remember correctly. They're not a realistic team in terms of being able to get to the postseason. And I think this, I saw Ryan Russillo, shout out to him. He talked about, I think, to be clear, I think there are people on that side that love Danny Ainge, but let's put that aside. I do think he kind of made a fair point about, like, what's the difference between ethical tanking and whatever these teams that we're mad at tanking, like the Wizards, like the Jazz, like the Pacers. And he's like, if it's tanking, it's tanking. It doesn't actually matter. So the Mavs, like, this is kind of tanking if Kyrie Irving is able to be healthy enough to play. Now, this feels like this is a him decision, because you got a statement from his stepmom, who's also his agent, who said that, Kyrie is going to take the rest of the time to still work out with the team. He still will practice with the team, but that he's not going to get out on the floor. But I thought the interesting part of the statement was that Kyrie Irving is really excited to eventually get on the court next season to, quote, chase a championship. I don't know if you've seen the Dallas Mavericks play. I have seen them play. Now, they pummeled my Knicks in one of these games, but let's take that aside. I've watched this team play. There is zero path to a Dallas Maverick team led by Kyrie Irving and Cooper Flag next season to competing for a championship. Zero. None. They have no shot. Could they fight for a play-in spot? Could they sneak in as an 8th or 7th seed? Sure. That's not realistic, though, when it comes to talking about winning a championship. Could they do those things? Yeah, who cares? If this is what Kyrie and his team are thinking about, which is his opportunity to chase an NBA title, which those chances are running, few and far between at this point in his career. You have a guard who's a smaller guard who, Kyrie obviously is quick and he's fast, but he's not like, it's not necessarily his speed that makes him like so dangerous. It's his skill level and his dexterity. And you're talking about a guy who's 33 years old, so next season he will be 34 because he's 33 right now. His birthday's in March. So 34-year-old guard playing on a team that is going to miss the playoffs this year. He has Cooper Flag, who does look like a future star, and they would be a kind of a neat tandem. But if you're telling me I'm getting ready for next season so I can chase the title, that tells me he's not going to be playing for the Dallas Mavericks next season. So I think that this announcement, I don't think it's going to be contentious or anything. In fact, the whole arrangement may have already been talked about. They may have already discussed what the future is for Kyrie Irving. The Mavs may have said, listen, it doesn't probably make all that much sense for you to be here, because they probably want to continue to rebuild, get his money off the books, and try to get pieces that fit better with Flag and players that match more of his timeline and get themselves in a position to hopefully maybe get another lottery pick next year, because, again, we're in this tanking conversation. So I'm very curious, though, like, if there are going to be radical changes, like, could they come in as early as next season? I know that's what Sham said, so we'll have to see how that goes. But I think you're talking about Kyrie Irving probably setting up a situation where he's going to be looking for his next home. That Kyrie Irving will be looking at, all right, I'll practice with you guys, I'll work out with you guys, but once the season, get to the offseason, there's going to be a trade request that maybe already was made, and the hope is that he's going to be able to find a team that he can play with somewhere else. Where that is a great question, because now it takes a team having not seen him play. You know how this thing works with the NBA. People talk. I assume they will be able to get some indication of how he looks in practice, playing with the guys and stuff. But still, you have not seen him play in a game. He was not played since last season, and he will be 34 years old when the season starts next year. He'll turn 35 towards the end of next season. That's what you would be dealing with if you trade for Kyrie Irving. Who are the teams that would be interested in bringing someone like that on? I don't know. To chase a championship, it's not like there are a bunch of championship caliber teams that are just sitting around waiting for Kyrie Irving. I'm trying to look at these teams right now and look at the standings or who are teams that would make sense. If you look at the East, I don't think he's going to Detroit. I don't think he's damn sure ain't going to Boston. That is not happening. The Knicks, that doesn't really make any sense. Cavs, he ain't going back to the Cavs. Another place where that ain't happening. So that's another thing. He has all these ops in the NBA that kind of make it tricky as well with Cleveland and Boston and how those exits ended. So I don't think that happens. Is Toronto a fit maybe? Does Toronto look at that? Does Dallas go to Toronto and say, hey, we'll take Emmanuel quickly, we'll take RJ Barrett, here's Kyrie and maybe some salary filler, and they move forward with a young point guard and a young wing next to Flag, and the Toronto Raptors move with a core of Irving, Brandon Ingram, and Scotty Barnes. Is that championship caliber? I don't think so. But I also didn't think the Mavs were championship caliber when they got Kyrie Irving and then they shocked everybody and went all the way to the NBA Finals. So I don't want to necessarily just say they have no shot. The East is not a gauntlet like the West is, but by next season, Jason Tatum would be healthy, and by next season, Tyrese Halliburton will be back. So the fifth place Raptors that are currently in fifth, it's still TBD as to whether or not they will be able to hold that kind of spot for next year, even if they make a trade for Kyrie Irving, because I think Kyrie Irving is better than Emmanuel quickly. So I would wanting to make that switch. It also seems like the people in Toronto just seem to be not all that in love with quickly. I don't really know why. He seems to be fine. He seems to be playing really well. The numbers are really good. I don't know why they hate him, but they seem to always be like, we're paying all this money for this guy. I'm like, what do you think NBA starting point guards get paid? Like, these guys aren't coming on bargains. Like, this is what they get paid. They get paid $40 million a year, which is what he's making. And I think he's giving you production that would make sense. But Kyrie Irving being a future Hall of Famer and a guy that definitely probably lifts their floor, or I don't know if he lifts their floor, but he definitely lifts their ceiling of what you think they could do. I can see that. If you trade him within the conference, I mean, I'm looking at the East real quick if there's any other teams. I don't know. I mean, Orlando, I think, could be the other team, maybe. Maybe they say, listen, Paolo needs some help. I saw Kendrick Perkins today say he thinks he's the most disappointing player in the NBA this season. I tried to warn you guys, man. I know I didn't talk about it because I didn't have 40 days and 40 nights for when the season started, but I did have social media. I was on Maggie and Pearl show. I don't know if I mentioned it on Maggie and Pearl, but I just did not understand what felt like a PR tour, a PR campaign to push Paolo Banchero as like one of the top 10 players in the NBA that was going to usurp, among others, Jalen Brunson as arguably the best player in the Eastern Conference. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. He's talented. He's good. He's extremely injury prone, and he doesn't shoot the ball consistently enough for me to feel like he could be that efficient to be considered that good. I don't know. And this is 2 years in a row, by the way. This wasn't just a one-year project with trying to make Paolo Banchero a thing. And he still hasn't been a thing. And I think a lot of those folks that were praising him, people were in my mentions when I kept saying, what is the deal with all this love of Paolo Banchero? Being like, oh, you're casual, you don't get it. Well, he's hurt all the time. The Magic are 28 and 25, and he's had another kind of meh season. I think, to me, they definitely could use another scorer, another number one option type. Kyrie would fit the bill. You'd lose Jalen Suggs, and that would probably hurt if you were the Magic, because Jalen Suggs is such a warrior and such a tough defensive player. But they're clearly missing that scoring type guard in the backcourt. So I assume maybe the Magic. I don't think that he can go to the Heat. That he could probably make a trade for that. They can't get Giannis. I don't know if that makes you a title contender. So I'm not sure if there's a comfortable title contender for Kyrie Irving. I don't know if the Mavs are also trading him within the conference. Are these other teams interested? Is Houston interested maybe? Could he repair with Kevin Durant? Kevin Durant said stuff about Kyrie Irving in those files, talking about how I don't know why Kyrie couldn't do for me what he's doing with Luka Doncic, where he's just shutting his mouth and not causing all these issues, which is a paraphrasing of me, basically what he said. He didn't say shutting his mouth, but he was defamatory in terms of how he talked about Kyrie Irving in those tweets, allegedly. I mean, in theory, they can make sense. They need a point guard, and maybe if you don't feel like Fred VanVleet, he's also coming from a serious injury. Maybe you feel like, hey, we got two guys older coming back from serious injuries. Give me the guy with the higher ceiling. Maybe Houston makes sense if they could patch that up with him and KD. But is Dallas trading within the state, let alone the conference? That seems spotty. We know the Laker thing. He loves LeBron. Is Dallas trading with the Lakers again? I don't know if that's going to happen. Minnesota might be interesting. There might be a spot. And that becomes, again, a question of whether or not they would actually want to trade. But could Minnesota pair Kyrie Irving with Anthony Edwards in the backcourt next year? That might be kind of nice. There are a couple of teams that maybe you could squint and see it. Could Phoenix, maybe you could squint and see it with them. But they're few and far between. But my point being is that I think Kyrie Irving is not going to be on the Mavericks next year. I would be very surprised if he makes it to the next trade deadline. He's still wearing Dallas Maverick blue. I think it's likely he's gone in the offseason. But he definitely ain't making it to the next trade deadline. You don't put in your statement about you saying that you're going to take the rest of the season off to get your knee right, which is the right move, by the way. Like, there's no point in him trying to push it and go out there and play for this team. For who? For what? It doesn't make any sense. But to put out your statement, I'm looking forward to chasing a championship. When you play for a Dallas Maverick team, I said they were 5.5 out. That's actually Memphis. The Mavs are 7 games out of the play-in. In a Western Conference that is Mortal Kombat. We know what time it is. We know what you're trying to say within what you're trying to say, which is that I'm going to look for a title next year. He literally says chase a championship. Like, literally, we're in the chasing championship phase of Kyrie's career. You don't chase championships staying on a team that is 16 games below 500. That doesn't exist. It's not possible. So I expect Kyrie to be on a new team next year. There are definitely some options. But I don't think he's joining the Thunder or the Spurs or some of these other like those teams. They're not going to need him. The Knicks, Pistons. I think he's going to be trying to take a team that's kind of stuck in the middle. Say, hey, maybe with me now we become one of the contenders in the conference, and once you get to the playoffs, kind of anything can happen deal. And the question becomes at that point: is Kyrie going to be worth the risk? Because he's always going to come with risk because of how he ended things with the Cavs, how he ended things with the Nets, how he ended things with the Celtics. Again, when he got to Dallas and he was great. Like, he didn't cause any issues. He really didn't embarrass the organization in any way. I don't think that it's this huge risk probably to bring him on at this point in time. Now, Kyrie's one of those folks that he can turn bad really fast and things can turn on a dime with him. But he has $39 million coming to him next year. He has a player option after next season for $42 million. So next year is essentially a potential prove-it year for Kyrie Irving. I think he's probably a pretty good gamble. If you're those teams I mentioned, Raptors, Magic, T-Wolves, I think those teams could take the risk because at worst, he leaves and you start over. But you still are a pretty good team to where you'll still be a playoff contender. You're not going to lose a lot by taking the plunge on Kyrie for a year. And if it's great, then re-sign him or let him pick up his option or figure something out after that. But I do think that this is potentially the end of Kyrie Irving in Dallas, with him saying that his agent saying that he's going to be looking to quote unquote chase a title next year. I don't hear guys chasing title for teams that are 16 games below 500. That's not an actual thing. This was an idea I thought that was interesting, and one that we've talked about. Kendall actually mentioned this, and it's unique, but I think people will get behind it. The question is, will the players get behind it? The NBA is reportedly considering adding a one-on-one or two-on-two competition as part of All-Star Weekend. So we've had the discussion ad nauseum about All-Star Weekend. I think everybody's probably tired of hearing everybody's takes on the All-Star game, the slam dunk contest, and maybe even tanking at this point. It's become like, all right, we've heard all the takes on tanking and everything. Let's just get to the games. The games will start tomorrow, and that'll be awesome. But before that, it's like, let's just get to the games already. We've had enough of this. I do think the last aspect of this that is interesting is the idea that the NBA could consider adding something like this, according to, I think Front Office Sports was the first people that had it, adding one-on-one or two-on-two competitions. Because we mentioned how the dunk contest feels like it's in a position where it might have to go away. The best stars don't want to do it. The guys we're getting are unknown. And then because they're unknown and because we've seen so many dunks, it's just so hard to be impressive in that environment. So you're left with a lot of bad options. I think the option is just give the winner $5 million, and I think you'll get stars to show up. But the NBA, that's a bad option to them. I don't think they want to just give away $5 million every year for a dunk contest for one night of work. I don't know what the big deal is. I mean, boxers make like Floyd Mayweather's making like $100 million for a fight. There, there are boxers and MMA guys that make $10-15 million for a fight. I think $5 million for the winner, not the loser. For the winner of a dunk contest, I don't think is that big a deal. But that's just me. But they don't think they have a lot of good options. So could a one-on-one competition be something that people would be behind? I think they definitely would. I've seen the one-on-one tournament that they do for Unrivaled, and it looks cool. Seeing those women stars. I saw Paige Beckers, man. She lost to Chelsea Gray a couple of days ago in one of these matchups, and she was pissed. She just stepped. She was upset at the ref, upset at the game. Just she shook hands and walked off the floor. PO'd. Like, if that is any indication of what you may get in the NBA, I think that it would be really cool. The question becomes, how many guys would actually want to actually do this? And that's a question I simply don't know. And that would be something I would think the NBA would have to really try to figure out is, could you talk to some of the stars in the league already and actually get them confirmed and say, hey, will you do this tomorrow? Or rather, will you do this next year if we put this in? I know Giannis has already said that he would definitely be a part of something like this, that he would enjoy this. Other guys have maybe said, hey, I'd be interested in something like this. Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Anthony Edwards. These guys say stuff like that, but I want to see it actually happen. Like, if let's see money where your mouth is. Like, we had David Shepard on the show a couple of days ago. He mentioned how LeBron James famously in 2011 said, I'll be in the dunk contest next year. Book it. Get ready to go. Dallas, I'll be in the dunk contest. And then he wasn't. And it was like, oh, man, that was a huge letdown. I don't want anything like that happening. And I don't want these guys are saying, oh, yeah, I'll do a one-on-one competition or two-on-two competition, and then we try to do it. And then they're like, oh, my groin, oh, my hamstring, oh, my ankle, something like that. Or, oh, I don't know, I want to rest, I want to chill. I've had a long season. I don't want to hear any of that. Don't want to hear it. So that would be the only question with this. I do think it would be cool. My question is, do you do what Kendall suggested? Kendall Stewart, my brother who was on Friday, because he pushed this as, what if the NBA did it almost like an actual boxing event? Like, if you had, like what we've had in the past, which is like, hey, we're going to do a card of, or like a wrestling event, a card of one-on-one matchups. We like your Triple H or your Dana White for UFC, even though he says he doesn't pick the fights, or your, His Excellency who does the Saudi boxing events, and you're putting together the fights. Like, what would the NBA do that? Would they say, hey, we're going to match up Anthony Edwards versus Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? Like I said, we tried to celebrity book, we tried to fantasy book what the card would look like and who would be the main event. And I said, I think the main event would be Shai versus Anthony Edwards. Or are you actually doing an actual tournament? I actually think booking guys against each other would be easier to get guys to say yes than to do the tournament thing. Because they got to play multiple games against multiple people. They might, again, these guys will look for any excuse to say they can't do something, I don't want to do something. That's just how this generation of players are. I know that upsets people and upsets certain commentators. I don't care. It's the truth. It's simply the truth. So they'll make any excuse for why they don't think something is important or why they want to do something. So I don't know if pushing, hey, you're going to play in a tournament with like 8 or 16 guys and you got to win 3 or 4 one-on-one games. I don't know if people are going to be into that. If you say, hey, it's only one one-on-one game and we're putting you against certain guys. So like we'll put Quantity Towns, you're going up against Victor Wembanyama. Like, that's one match. And then we'll do Jason Tatum versus Jaylen Brown. Teammates against each other in one match. Like, and if you just build it as that, and these guys can trash talk as we get closer to All-Star Weekend, like, you do a lot of fun things with it. Or do you do a tournament? I actually like Kendall idea more, I'd be honest. I think the other idea is more competitive in that, like, it would be really cool to have, like, a reigning one-on-one champion in the NBA. And if people really do kind of get into their feelings and get into their feels about wanting to be that person, that would be kind of dope. I don't know if, like, that's something people would get behind. That's the only thing, is will enough players say, okay, I'll do this? Or are we going to get, again, G League and rookies trying to play a one-on-one? Like, I'm not trying to see that. Am I going to see Carter Bryant versus Kashad Johnson in a one-on-one game? Like, that's not what we're trying to see. I just don't want it to become that. But it's cool. I love that they're thinking outside the box. I think that this is a great idea. If they end up wanting to do it, Chad, if you're in the chat, let me know. Would you be interested in seeing the NBA add a 1-on-1 or 2-on-2 competition to All-Star Weekend? I don't know if I need 2-on-2. Maybe they feel like 2-on-2 would make it a little less pressure on guys because, again, all these guys care about not wanting to get embarrassed, not wanting to embarrass their brand, not wanting to hurt their brand in any way. And if they go into a 1-on-1 game and they get beat 11-1 or 12-2 or something like that, then they got to carry that with them for a whole season, and people will talk about that. Maybe if it's 2-on-2, it takes a little bit of the pressure off. But I don't know if I don't really care about watching them play 2-on-2. Like the NBA, I remember that there's one. I don't know if it was two, but I remember one for sure. They did 1 year where they did All-Star Weekend, and they had this thing called Hoop It Up, which is like a 3-on-3 basketball initiative to just get people to play basketball. It was very simple. I don't know if it was successful or what any other goal was besides just getting people to play basketball. But they had a thing called Hoop It Up, which encouraged people to pick up basketball, and they were pushing 3-on-3. And they wanted to make this actually an element of the NBA All-Star Weekend. And this is before they had an actual celebrity game. They did a Hoop It Up 3-on-3 All-Star tournament where they put former players and celebrities in a 3-on-3 tournament. It was kind of terrible because what always happens with this is these things always take a little too long. There is no clock, so you don't know who's gonna. So it takes time. The team has to get to a certain amount of points or whatever. So in application, it kind of didn't work. Maybe in the thought process, it seemed kind of cool. But TNT always plays the clips, or now I guess ESPN will eventually, when Inside the NBA comes back, maybe they will. They didn't have All-Star Weekend, so it makes it a little weird. But usually every All-Star Weekend, they always play the clips of Kenny Smith getting cooked by Justin Timberlake. Retired, because they had retired players and they had celebrities. I don't think current players were playing, if I remember correctly. I'm not 100% sure, but I know definitely were retired players and celebrities, and maybe like a WNBA player. I think that's what it was. It was like WNBA player, celebrity, and retired player. I'm pretty sure that was a setup. And Kenny Smith was going up against Justin Timberlake because it was Houston, so it was like him and Tina Thompson or someone like that, and then some celebrity from Houston. I don't remember who it was. And they were going against, if I remember correctly, Justin Timberlake was representing Philadelphia. No idea why he was representing Philadelphia. I mean, he's someone that's kind of taken Memphis as his own, I believe. So I don't know where Philly came in, but he was cooking Kenny Smith. Kenny Smith, I mean, bad knees, bad ankles. I don't know what it was, but he was getting fried in this game. And they got rid of it shortly after that, because it was embarrassing for Kenny Smith to be getting cooked by Justin Timberlake, who's rocking I see the pictures now, he was rocking the blonde afro. This is blonde afro Justin Timberlake at this time. So this was a dark time for not, well, it was actually a great time for Justin Timberlake in terms of just like his celebrity, but dark time in terms of fashion. It was a very bizarre time in that standpoint. So they've done something like this before, and it was kind of So I don't know if 2-on-2 is going to really do much. 1-on-1 is a different thing. And again, it seems to be working on Arrival pretty well. And I think that would be a cool thing for the NBA if they adopt this. But apparently this is something that could happen. And it could happen as early as next season. So let's get some video game news. We got a couple more things to do before we get out here. Again, this is 40 Days and 40 Nights with your boy EJ Stewart. Again, appreciate you guys rocking with me. Apologies for some of the late start aspect and the technical difficulty aspect. That was, again, computer on the fritz today, so that was my bad on that, and sorry, the only thing I can say. But glad this stream has gone. It seems smooth so far. If you're enjoying the show, again, multiple ways you could contribute and help out. Make sure if you like this show, if you're liking the channel, make sure you hit that like button. Hit the like button in the YouTube screen. Hit the like button when it comes to X. Hit the like button when you're on Instagram. And all those that engagement out, that stuff with the algorithm, it all helps. So if you can like this video, if you can comment in the comment section, if you have thoughts, or if you want to just, hey EJ, great show, love seeing you, whatever you want to say, get in. We appreciate you from that standpoint. We would appreciate that. And like all shows, they all get podcasted, so you can catch every episode of 40 Days and 40 Nights right on New Generation Podcast Network. If you search New Generation Podcast Network, You can catch all the episodes that are streamed live. It's the audio version. So if you're on the go, maybe you're working out, maybe you're on the run, maybe you're on a train, whatever the case may be, maybe you're driving, you can't watch, you can still listen to the podcast version of this, which is the full audio version that has everything from the show. So make sure, if you can, also, you can subscribe to our podcast channel, New Generation Podcast Network. And if you can, also leave a 5-star review and give us a review if you can, a written review. All those things, again, help. We greatly appreciate you. By the way, like I mentioned earlier, I'll be on The Fan later tonight. WFAN New York, the #1 station in New York City, arguably the #1 station in all of the country when it comes to local sports talk radio, and the godfather of this whole deal. I'll be on later tonight / this morning. I hate doing this when you do the is it tonight, is it this morning, especially midnight. I think when I do like at 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., it's easy to say, okay, I'll be on later tomorrow morning, or early tomorrow morning rather. Like when it's like tonight and it's like midnight to 5, it's like, is that tonight or is that tomorrow morning? And when you gotta craft a tweet explaining when you're on the air, or a social media post, it is one of the most annoying, frustrating things. And anyone who does overnight shows or does overnight work knows what I'm talking about. But technically this is tomorrow, but later tonight at midnight, I think that's how most people think of it when you're talking to a friend, I'll be on in the overnight for WFAN from midnight to 5 a.m. So I kind of kept New York stuff out of this evening show because I'll be talking New York sports for 5 hours mostly. We'll get into other stuff as well. And we'll definitely wrap some of this other stuff. I'll talk about Kevin Durant probably on the show too. But I'll be on for 5 hours later tonight. So we'll do this show. I'll say peace to y'all. I'll maybe take a quick hour nap or whatever. And I'm heading into the city to do WFAN. So if you want to keep rocking with me, this is not just a 2-show day. This is technically a 3-show day, or maybe tomorrow's a 3-show day if you want to think of it that way, because I'll be on midnight to 5, and I haven't made any other plans otherwise. I plan to be back live after being on till 5 a.m. in the morning. I plan to be live tomorrow at 8 a.m. I will caution that I would expect, if you were going to watch tomorrow's show, to expect a show that probably isn't going to be as full as a normal morning show where I'm doing 2 hours. I would highly doubt I'll have that kind of show with you, but we'll talk about something. We'll get on the mic. We'll chat. Maybe we'll recap what happened the night before. Whatever we'll do, we'll have fun. But it's not going to be the typical show, given I would have just done 5 hours of radio 3 hours before, and then I would have actually had done a show also the previous night, because I'm doing this, obviously. But I'm on later tonight, WFAN New York. So if you have the Odyssey app, you can catch me on the Odyssey app. I think WFAN also now streams these shows live. Again, don't kill me if I'm wrong on that, but if you go to WFAN's YouTube page and or their Twitch, I think you may be able to actually watch me, which I'm always scared of, because that's the one place that I kind of forget that I may be on camera. Like, I was very used to it when I was on Maggie and Perloff's show, because for those who obviously are watching me right now, whether you're on YouTube, or on Instagram, or on X, you guys got very familiar, a lot of you, with the concept of live streams, because you watch this via our live stream every morning. So I was very conscious of knowing that I could be on camera at any point in time. But because I'm used to doing fan shows where I'm doing shows at various different hours prior to when we started putting the cameras on full time, I kind of didn't have much thought about people being able to see me. So I come in schluppy, didn't matter. As long as I got behind that mic and killed it, it didn't really matter how I looked or what I was doing. So I don't know if I'm picking noses. I don't know if I'm doing weird stuff when I'm doing the show, or if I look weird. But I think you'll be able to watch me tonight too. I can confirm that later and maybe tweet, hey, watch us if you can. But I'm definitely going to be on the Odyssey app. So 101.9 FM or the Odyssey app. You can catch me. The Odyssey app is totally free and free to download. So check me out on there. I'll be on from midnight to 5 a.m. Let's see. We got Rob Durant. Hey, EJ, great show. Love seeing you. He's a who is we. That love seeing you and Lita. I don't know what Rob's talking about here. Did someone comment that? I don't know what Rob's talking about. I'm trying to see if I can understand what he's trying to say. Yeah, I'm lost. I'm trying to figure out, like, what is he trying to say? Because, like, maybe there's YouTube chat that I don't see, or maybe a comment I don't see. But I would say we, just in terms of we as a community. Maybe that's what he's talking about. I don't know. But anyway, I'll be on later tonight. Again, midnight, 5 a.m. on the Odyssey app and 101.9 FM. This was news that was coming, and it kind of got teased earlier in the day. And I put on X, I'm not looking forward to this. And then it got revealed, and I'm still not looking forward to this. So NBA 2K26, they announced that they're going to be unveiling a new season, which they do this thing where they unveil different content for the games that get unveiled throughout the season, along with their patches that fix the game up. So they'll add certain things throughout the game. And I do think, in general, while some people kind of complain about, oh, patches are a way you just put out a crappy-ass game and then say, put a crappy-ass game out and say, oh, don't worry, we'll fix all the issues we have with all the patches. And that people will complain. Well, I agree with that, but I grew up at a time where you just put out the game, and if it sucked, it sucked. And if there were features you wanted, you just had to wait till next year. So I am not against patches or against the idea that you can add different stuff to a game. I know a lot of it is a cash grab, and that's a part of it. But I'd rather that than not be able to have improvements to a game while they're still developing the new game for next year. So that's essentially what this is for NBA 2K. They're going to allow you to use college-themed content and players from 16 schools as part of this new DLC. It's not even DLC really. It's more of just like, again, a patch that they're putting together for the game. So apparently in the statement they put out is that we're really excited about what we have in store for 2027. But for now, here's like a little teaser where we're going to give you content from 16 schools where you can download essentially courts, uniforms, and certain college players that are actually a part of this. And I actually have the list up. Part of the reason why my computer was going so damn slow because it didn't love one of these websites they didn't love. But On3, shout out to On3. I actually love On3. Apparently Google Chrome doesn't like On3. But there's a list of players that if this will cooperate right now, I can show you. These are the players that are going to be on this game, and we're not talking about full rosters. This is not like what we're talking about when we think about what we saw from you know, all these teams that have all these different players, and you know, we complain about the game because we complain about everything, but it's still really awesome to have college football back. Here's another shot at this, if I can. If not, I'm just gonna read you the list. But yeah, see, yeah, I don't know what it is with On3. It's not behaving very well with my computer while I live stream, and it's not allowing me to show the screen, which sucks. Maybe I'll try this one more time, but if it doesn't work this time, I think I'm just gonna chug along and try to show you or tell you who the guys and gals, because there's women in the game too, which is pretty cool. So let's see one more time. Yeah, it's not happening. Okay, so I'm showing you a black screen. That's not what you want to see. But what we can see, or what I can tell you, is the teams are Arizona, Baylor, Duke, Florida, Houston, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisville, Michigan, Michigan State, North Carolina, Ohio State, Purdue, Texas, UCLA, and UConn. This is not going to be a situation where all these teams are going to have actual rosters. So you're not going to be able to sit there and say, oh, I'm going to go and I'm going to play with this year's Arizona team versus this year's Duke team. Like that doesn't exist. So you can play with Koa Pete from Arizona. He's the only men's player. Duke, you'll have Cameron Boozer, Caleb Farson, Isaiah Evans. Those are the only players for Duke. Florida will have Boogie Flan and Olivier Roux, who's a 7'9" kid who doesn't actually play that much for them, but he's a novelty, so you can play with him in the game. Darren Peterson from Kansas is in the game. Otega Alway is also in the game from Kentucky. Michael Brown Jr. from Louisville. Jeremy Fear Jr. from Michigan State. North Carolina has the most guys. They have Caleb Wilson, Seth Trimble, Cayenne Evans, Henry Visar, and Luke Bogovich. So you'll be able to actually play, in theory, like with a starting lineup of college kids. But that's kind of it. What you will have, though, is you will have like certain like versions of players from their quote-unquote college years in the game. So I think Jason Williams from Florida is going to be in this. Kevin Durant from Texas. Draymond Green from Michigan State. Again, this will essentially be part of my team and my player aspects of the game. Now, this is going to be a precursor to what we think is going to be some much more expanded level of college basketball that will be added to NBA 2K27 next year. Here's quickly just some screenshots to show you what we can expect from the game. So here, this was the announcement that includes, Paige Beckers as a UConn player, Lauren Betts, currently a star at UCLA, maybe the best player in college basketball right now. And you got KD and Cam Boozer. So here's a picture of Koa Pete going for an alley-oop. I think that looks like Joakim Noah, but I'm not 100% sure. I think that's Noah, but forgive me if that's not Noah. But there's Koa Pete going for an alley-oop, so he's one of the players that will be featured in the game. Draymond Green, again, here's another picture of him. You can see him going up for a dunk there. You see Duncan Robinson, wearing the Michigan uniform, so he'll clearly be one of the guys you can play with. So this is what you're going to be seeing. So it's going to be able to use the likenesses of the colleges to play with these current guys and former alumni. I will say, just from what I saw, like small attention to detail things, like they didn't even change the stanchion underneath the basket. Like it has a big ass NBA logo on it, and they have college courts. Like the courts are the same. They don't have the arenas, but like the court for Duke looks like Cameron Indoor Stadium. The court for Carolina looks like the Dean Dome, but it's not necessarily the actual arenas. And then the actual small things like taking the NBA logo off the backboard or off the stanchion, which is massive, isn't on there. So you got guys playing on NBA rims and baskets, but wearing college uniforms. I don't know. And so we knew this was going to be a race against time, so to speak, because EA also was very interested in launching a college basketball game, but they wanted exclusive rights from the schools to do that, which is essentially, I believe, what they have with the college football game, that they have exclusive rights to play, to use these schools and their licenses. And that's why we're able to have a full college football game the way we have it. And we don't have the FCS, we don't have everything, but we're getting there, and right now it's a pretty great experience. What NBA 2K has been offering, which is they came in, they swooped in and said, and it's a business, so I'm not going to, all is fair in love and war, so to speak. I'm going to close this screen because I feel like I'm freezing. Because, again, just for some reason, hate's on 3. It was driving me crazy. I was trying to get ready for this show, and I was trying to get going. Like, why is my computer going so slow? But what I want to tell you guys, though, is, again, like, it's one of those things where 2K, the word was they swooped in. They said, hey, let's get these licenses from these schools. UCLA, UConn, the schools that people would want, Duke. And it kind of kneecapped EA Sports. I guess in theory, then it doesn't stop them from making a college basketball game. But we know this from how they dealt with Madden, that EA is not necessarily in the position of wanting to necessarily always want to compete, which sucks on the EA side. EA is not necessarily a champion in this either. But I think for just consumers and gamers, like, we're done with 2K. Like, if 2K wants to do what they did in the past, because the last game they had was College Hoops 2K, I believe 7, with Greg Oden on the cover. An awesome game. College Hoops 2K during that era was probably the best sports sim game that was out. We had been past NFL 2K, that was done. Madden was we were now in the years of the Madden exclusive license. We started to see them kind of start to half-ass that game. And they didn't have a great rollout on the next-gen Xbox 360, PlayStation, I guess at that time, 3 era of games. So, College Hoops 2K, NBA 2K was still very popular, but College Hoops 2K was arguably the best game, and we had no college football. College Hoops 2K was, well, we had it, but it was EA, actually, the last college football game also started to slip a little bit. College Hoops 2K was awesome. If NBA 2K wanted to say, hey, we're going to relaunch the College Hoops 2K division and let those guys or a new group make a college basketball game that's about the college basketball experience, or a new engine, new vibe, new everything, that's one story. What they're talking about is this, we're going to add this on to what NBA 2K is, and what that will end up meaning is it's probably going to hike up the price. And the thing about college basketball, which is different than the college football, is it's not just, oh, give me the power conference teams. College basketball, the mid-majors and the low-major schools are instrumental to any interest in a college basketball game. You need the 365 or whatever, how many number of Division I teams so that you can have a full season, real dynasty mode where you can start from the bottom and end up at the top. You can try to build a program from the bottom and make them a championship contender if you want. Like, that is why people want to play college hoops, outside of the other reasons that you want to play with your alma mater, all those things. But that's a big factor in this. And the early word was that NBA 2K was actually not really all that interested or invested in getting all the schools, just enough of the big schools to satisfy you, when that's not what EA was going to do. EA was trying to make another like full-on college basketball game. But because they're going to do this garbage of this like small little thing here, and then they're going to come in and then give us more later, I'm like, I don't need this. Keep this. Go make a real college basketball game when you're ready to go, and then call me then. But they're going to come out with something next year. But again, it doesn't sound like we're going to be talking about a full-on college basketball game with all 365 Division I schools, which is what we want. So I don't think it's an accident that this news was met with ho-hum news. I don't think people wanted this. I think people, like, they drop this, and then you see Draymond Green and, you know, Duncan Robinson and Joakim Noah. Like, what is this? We didn't ask for this. We want to have a college basketball game. Like, we didn't ask for an addition to 2K. College basketball is an entirely different experience than the NBA, just like college football is an entirely different experience than the NCAA, than the NBA, NFL rather. And the fact that we're doing this, and then again the aspect of, I think people are just so down on 2K overall that if you're going to just make it an add-on, it just speaks to like not putting in the kind of work needed to really give you a really unique, fun experience. It just feels like a cash grab. And that sucks. That really sucks. Because the whole reason why, you know, we talked about all the time about, we got to get a college football game back, and the idea was that it was profitable. And say, why wouldn't we talk about college basketball? Because college basketball video games didn't sell nearly as well as the college football games did back then. So there was a race to try to make a college football game again. Once they got the go-ahead from NIL and the lawsuits and all those different things, that was something that people wanted, and there was money potential for anybody who made it. College basketball has been a little in terms of whether or not that's actually profitable. So for NBA 2K, again, this makes more sense. Oh, we tack it on to our NBA 2K game. So we put the effort in, and we put in the stuff needed to put it in the game, but we're not going to go full stop. We're going to give you a full college basketball experience of what it would cost to make that happen. And then we'll just add to NBA 2K where we already do make profits on this game, and then that'll be that. It's all money. This is not about the experience. So it's just, keep this, man. I play 2K every year. I'll have this. I'll play this, but I'm like so disappointed that EA really seemed to be finding a little bit of a niche with making college sports games, and then 2K had to drop in with stuff that nobody wanted. Like, it's annoying. Rod Ray's made an apology for that very confusing comment. That it was actually my fault. I shouldn't have put it up. If I see comments I don't understand or I don't want to put back, and just not put them up. But I thought I understood it, and then I didn't. He said, "Sorry, EJ, you said we love seeing 5-star reviews. Not trying to mess up one of your three show days." No, when I said we, I'm not the only one on this channel. Again, Kendall's on this channel. Shamari's on this channel. They do Imperial broadcasts. Kendall's been on 40 Days and 40 Nights. Shamari's been on 40 Days and 40 Nights. Kendall's on every week. So when I say we, I mean we as in my brothers, the whole crew. That's what I mean. So a little clean up there. But that was essentially what I was trying to say when I said we as a group appreciate you guys giving us 5-star reviews and supporting us in this aspect. Last thing real quick, man, before we get out of here, I want to thank you guys again for checking me out. Again, I will be on again, as crazy as this is. I'll be on again, midnight to 5 on the Fan. I'm excited about it. This is going to end up being quite a fun 2 days here. And with combining 40 Days and 40 Nights, along with now a show during the week, during the Fans. First show I've done on the Fan during the week in a while. At least a year, I think. Maybe even more. So it's been a while. So I'm actually really excited about that. But I wanted to talk about this story because if you remember, I think I got that year right, but John Cena and Roman Reigns, they headlined SummerSlam a couple of years ago, and it was a pretty good show, pretty good match. But at the end of the day, yeah, it's at 24, it's 2021. I don't know why I put 24. Let me just fix that real quick. But anyway, they headlined SummerSlam in 2021. This was right in the midst of Roman Reigns as the tribal chief, as the head of the table, throw up the one, all that stuff. He's in the middle of the God mode run of him being Universal Champion. And John Cena revealed that when he made his comeback, which we remember after Money in the Bank, Roman Reigns had just beat Edge in a barn burner of a match where Seth Rollins cost Edge and Roman won, and then Roman said, now you all will acknowledge me. And then John Cena's hit, and it's one of the biggest pops in WWE history, and definitely one of the biggest pops within the last 10, 15 years or so for a return. The crowd went absolutely ballistic. I think the show was in Chicago. I'm not 100% sure, but it was bonkers in there when John Cena showed up. Great return. And it culminated in a SummerSlam match between John Cena and Roman Reigns. John Cena was on the No Contest podcast with O'Shea Jackson Jr. and TJ Jefferson. Shout out to those guys. I've actually gotten to talk to both of those guys just a little bit, and they're both really cool dudes. Here was John Cena revealing something that we didn't know. Apparently, he was supposed to win the title that night.
Then we secure Brock. And TR comes and said, I need to see you. We're switching the finish. To what? Roman over. Yep. Clean. Yep.
Sorry, that's actually the first. That's not the second one. I had it backwards. Let me play you the first time where he explains that he was supposed to win his 17th championship at that SummerSlam.
Match was over. And Brock. They didn't secure Brock until 5 p.m. that day. And you want to talk about pivoting, right?
Yeah.
A message to anybody out there listening thinking I'm talking from a high place or a glass house. I was going to win 17. We were going to have someone come out and restart the match, and Roman was going to take it back. And
I've never heard this.
So
from
this
John
is
Cena.
creative.
Yeah.
And the way we put together the match was we were going to give him a hell of a match. Everything out the door, no rules, no nothing, like tons of finishers, all this stuff because I was going to win. And then Roman was going to take it back. So you have this battle, this hard-fought battle, and then through a nefarious set of rules, matches restarted. Here we go.
So there you have him saying that he was supposed to win the match, and that would have been him winning his 17th title. But there is a huge asterisk that the match would have somehow been restarted and Reigns would have left with the title. Before I get into whether or not I think this would have worked, then here is the pivot that happened because they eventually were able to secure Brock Lesnar.
Then we secure Brock. And TR comes and said, I need to see you. We're switching the finish. To what? Roman over. Yep. Clean. Yep. Okay. What do you want to do? Let me just talk to Roman and Paul. I go in. They're like, you got the news? I said, I got the news. What do we do? I said, one spear. That's it. Whatever match you want to have, that's fine. You beat me with your finish once.
Yeah.
So I'm glad this didn't happen. I'll be real. I'm glad this didn't happen. Now, that SummerSlam match, if I remember correctly, was kind of whatever. That main event, if I remember correctly. I haven't watched it in a little while, but it was fine. It was good. You know, Roman's great. Cena's great. It was not whatever barn burner John Cena said was supposed to happen, which was going to be a crazy multiple finish, false finish kind of match that would end it with him actually somehow winning the match, but then something with the rules or some kind of flim flam would then allow them to restart the match. I would not want to see this. I think for the tribal chief and putting him over, if there was one mistake I think they did with Roman's character at that time, was I think he too often needed his cousins or some nefarious thing to win. That happened too often. You know, I never forget one of my, have I ever told you? I think I've told it on there in terms of on Maggie and Pearl. I don't know if I told the story on 40 Days and 40 Nights. I'll one day get into my night at the Royal Rumble 2020 now 4, right? It wasn't last year, right? Last year was Indy, so 2024. I'll one day talk to you about that night. I was there. I was at Tampa for that Royal Rumble. One day I will talk about that. But I was there, and there was a guy in the stands who was heckling. He was hilarious. He was heckling. We were nowhere near anybody could hear in the ring, but it was still funny. he was heckling like the Bloodline and heckling Roman Reigns. I think they had a title match that night. It was Reigns versus AJ Styles, and then there was somebody else. It was a triple threat. I don't remember who the other third person was, but it was a triple threat, and the guy kept saying, Roman Reigns, that's what he does. He always cheats. Like, here we go. Here comes the Bloodline. Here you go. Roman Reigns, that's what he does. He cheats all the time. And it was just kind of funny. You're even the fans are in kayfabe, so it makes it. That's why wrestling shows are fun. So we're in kayfabe, and this fan is like complaining about Roman Reigns cheating to win. This is the only reason why he's good, because he keeps having to cheat. And I think his son, was a Roman Reigns fan, something like that. It was really cute, but it was funny just because I did look at that, and while that was funny, I kind of thought like, man, he's supposed to be like the greatest, the GOAT, all these different things. It kind of, I guess maybe at the end of the day, nobody really remembers or cares. But if you ever like sit down and say, I want to go back and watch all of like Roman's best matches from that run as the tribal chief. He still is a tribal chief, but you know what I mean. Before the OTC stuff, before the breakup of the bloodline, the true like bloodline run of him as a champion. There's so much where Kevin Owens has him beat, and then here comes Jimmy and Jay, or Edge has him beat, and here comes Seth Rollins, or here comes this guy, or that person. Here's another cousin out of nowhere. Drew McIntyre had him beat, and here comes Solo Sikoa. Like, I already seen those. Now, this would have been a step further where he would have actually gotten pinned, and John Cena would have been, like, handed the title in theory. Like, they would have did this whole big shebang. And then you would have said, oh, no, just kidding, actually. The match didn't count or doesn't matter, and we restart. I don't like that. I think that was something that would have been, it was too much of that. I like that John Cena lost to Roman Reigns clean. I like that Roman, like John Cena, older part of his career, Roman Reigns in the prime of his career, he's in God mode, he's the GOAT, he's the tribal chief, head of the table. He should be John Cena clean. That's how it should have gone. I think you kind of book yourself into a pretzel by thinking, let's find a way to make this interesting and make this special. Let's give John Cena a false finish win that really wouldn't have counted. And then that would have been controversial. Because then it's like, is that number 17? Does that actually count? Or is he still 16? That would have been the stupidest way to count his 17th title. He passes up Ric Flair. That would have been dumb. I assume they would have said this doesn't actually count. But I don't know. Again, to do that shebang again, I don't think it works. I think if you want to do something like that where Roman quote unquote loses, you got to do what they did with Chris Jericho and Triple H back in, what's that, 01? Or maybe even earlier, maybe 2000. Remember when Jericho beats Triple H in a random episode of Raw? He hits him with the Lion Salt. You know, Triple H had a feud with one of the referees at the time. I can't remember the referee's name at this point. Earl Hebner. Yeah, he was having a feud with Earl Hebner, where Earl Hebner was like always having to do his matches, and he would always abuse Earl Hebner to try to get him to avoid Triple H hitting him with, sledgehammers all day. Triple H was a demon. He was on demon time at this point. And this is like McMahon Helmsley era Triple H. And he had a random match with Chris Jericho on Monday Night Raw for the title. This was at a time when the title was actually defended on Monday Night Raw. And it was really fun and cool, even though there was rarely title changes. Every now and then there would be. And they had a match. He's messing with Earl Hebner, and he's not paying attention. Jericho hits him with a bulldog or something, and Earl Hebner falls down. Jericho goes, hits his Lion Salt. Earl Hebner gets up, and he's so upset because he got knocked down by Triple H. He does a very quick, fast count, 1, 2, 3, and Jericho becomes champion. And the crowd goes ballistic. And like, oh my God, Triple H, who's been this massive heel who seemed at that time unbeatable because he was beating The Rock in Austin. He just lost the title on a random Monday Night Raw to Chris Jericho, who was over as a babyface and people liked, but was a mid-carder. The crowd went ballistic. Chris Jericho literally had the belt around his waist. It was done, we thought. And then Vince McMahon or somebody comes out, some authoritative figure says, that was a quick count. We determined it was a quick count. It does not count. It's a no contest. Triple H remains champion. So he had to give back the title. But it was a surprise moment. It was a good moment, but it worked because it was Chris Jericho. He had never been a champion. That would have been the biggest moment of his career. It still is one of the biggest moments of his career. A match that didn't actually count. Because it showed him beating a guy in a quick count. It was a quick count for sure, but it wasn't like it was so egregious. But he pinned Triple H in the middle of the ring and won the WWE Championship on Raw. if you're gonna do that kind of hijinks, you do it with somebody that's up and coming. You do it with somebody that you want to see in that position in the future. You do that with a Braun Breaker. You do that with a Obafemi. Like Obafemi, these guys weren't even WWE stars at this time. You have whoever the NXT star were at that time. You do it with Johnny Gargano or someone like that. Like that's who you do that with. I'm not saying you should. I'm saying that's what you would do it with. As a surprise, oh my God, and then it doesn't really count. To put John Cena in the 17th championship and all those things around it, I don't think it really matters. And I think what was important about the Jericho moment, why it worked, was because also it showed WWE, are fans ready for this guy to be world champion? Like, how will they react if he beats one of our absolute top guys? Will they actually be happy about this? Will they be stunned? Will they be like, what the F just happened? Like, remember when Thea Hale from NXT randomly won the North American Championship by accident against Rose Monroe? What's the name? Monroe? I can't remember her first name. Like, the crowd was like, they loved Thea. They were like, what just happened? The guy didn't know what to make of what happened, and it wasn't supposed to happen, right? So I think with Blake Monroe, there you go. Like, I don't know why I was having trouble, but no, like that wasn't supposed to happen because they didn't build up Thea in that way. Thea had just come back from injury, and you're randomly giving her a title over someone who's a mega star right now. It didn't make sense. So that was understandable that you'd say, let's give the title back to Blake Monroe, or actually end up giving it to somebody else. They just went in a whole different direction. But that wasn't supposed to happen. You do that with John Cena. What do you gain out of that? You don't learn anything. The only thing I could argue you learn is maybe you learn that people are done with Roman Reigns, like they've had enough of like the bloodline storyline. But it already been so long, it didn't matter to me. Like, it was already so long, like, you already knew that they were tired. Just turn on social media. You would have seen people being like, I'm tired of Roman Reigns winning all the time. That was not a secret. That was not an accident. It was very easy to find that. So much so that when it came to Finn Balor being involved in Extreme Rules, I think it was that same year, people were invested in wondering if Finn Balor should have won the title because he was the demon. And when then Brock Lesnar faces him later on, again, should have been Brock Lesnar. Like, we had this song and dance already. We've already done this. So or they would do it a couple weeks later, months later. We already knew people were ready for Roman Reigns to eventually lose the title. The whole point about him having the title was to build it up as much as possible. So for whoever actually beat him, you would have made them essentially the face of the company while Roman Reigns transitions into being a part-timer, which is what they executed extremely well with Cody Rhodes. I don't think it adds up to say we're going to make John Cena have a false finish where he beats Reigns for the title at SummerSlam 21. At this point, you're talking about that would have been a year and change since Cena was world champ with Roman Reigns as Universal title. That's still pretty early on. That's still kind of early on. There's still 3 more years of Roman Reigns as champion. I think they would have pulled the shoot on that. So I do believe this. Because some people say, do you believe it? Because people can say things all the time. And that goes back to, man, this is a show. I should have texted my guy who I do my podcast with, where we talk wrestling. Like, I just feel like what Lucas Goldman has told me so many times is you can't say something is actually a done deal or something's going to happen until the referee's hand hits 3 or they ring that bell for a submission or a counter or something like that. Nothing is actually set in stone because Vince McMahon, he will change things on the fly. He will change things in a second. So you can never say, I was so supposed to do this, I was supposed to do that. I know in terms of how regular people talk, you can present it that way. But even John Cena should know, according to my friend Lucas, that nothing is actually finalized until John Cena actually has his hand raised and he is declared the winner before they do this false finish. So I don't know if this was really like the plan A. I think plan A was always Brock Lesnar, and maybe through negotiating with Brock, because Brock can negotiate for as high a number as he wants. Maybe it came down to the wire and they had to write a show and they said, all right, how do we do something that doesn't include Brock? And they came up with this. But I think they always wanted Brock to be in the picture, Cena to lose, and for Reigns to continue this years-long streak at World Champion, where they talked about how the plan from the beginning was for him to keep it for 3 to 4 years. Like they thought that was something that they wanted to try. because it's something they hadn't done since the 80s and 70s, right? Like I think that was something that was on the table. I firmly believe that. But what a story that John Cena was supposed to win at SummerSlam in 2021, and you want to talk about? I mean, that would have hurt Reigns. That would have hurt Reigns because he was on top of the world right now, right at that point in time. He was hot, red hot as a heel at that point in time. To have Cena win again, but it doesn't count. So then Reigns now wins via. I guess the only thing is maybe it gets Reigns heat because he was so over. He kind of became almost like a tweener in the midst of that bloodline stuff, especially when Sami Zayn kind of came around, especially during that time. But it definitely blurred the line between who was heel and who was babyface during a lot of that. Maybe it gets him heat. I don't know. I think he was so over it didn't really matter. I don't think he needed it. I love this comment from Spencer Seeks. Shout out to Spencer Seeks on YouTube saying, in an alternate WWE universe, Hollywood Hunter Helmsley is up to his 43rd title reign. See, people always talk about Triple H and the booking and how much he gets crap because he was booked very favorably throughout his career. I actually saw a guy on Instagram. Cause I am a fan of Triple H, the wrestler. Like, not in terms of, like, I hated him as a kid, but I think that's the point. He was very good as a heel. He was an excellent heel. And the guy was complaining because there's been a lot of, like, recent chatter because especially WWE's creative has been a little bit not so great of late. Where once you slander somebody, you can't just slander them for things that you actually are talking about. You got to go well beyond. Because that's the internet. The most bombastic takes and the most out there takes are the ones that get the most attention. So it doesn't become Triple H just a bad booker. It becomes also Triple H wasn't even that good a wrestler. And who was his classic matches and who were his classic feuds? And you go back deep down, really, like he got lucky. Shawn retired and that gave him DX. And even with DX, he never became a main event. Like there's all this stuff with Triple H. It is utterly ridiculous to me. Like, Triple H is one of the greats. Is he Mount Rushmore? No. Is he one of the top 5 wrestlers? No. He's not in. I don't think he's in my top 10. If so, he's in someone else's top 10. Okay, I can see that. But there's some people that want to like somehow act like Triple H wasn't a great wrestler, which is weird to me. But he does get a lot of he like got booked to the moon in part because he's the boss's son-in-law and. Other people didn't get opportunities because Triple H was in the way. And he buried a bunch of people, and it was a big part of the CM Punk Triple H beef. That's how it originated. It was Triple H seemed to not have much interest in CM Punk when CM Punk was just coming up through ECW and OVW and he thought Triple H. Apparently he made it known that he thought Punk wasn't all that. Which was a lot of people, because Punk was a very different kind of star. Different look, different body type, different everything. And Triple H is definitely more cut from the Vince McMahon cloth of this guy is chiseled out of stone. He's big, strong, and muscular. He's got this flowing blonde hair. Like, he is a WWE made machine. And I mean that not in a disrespectful way, in a good way. He fits what they like and what works for them. And he worked, obviously. Look at his career. So there's this idea of Triple H wouldn't be as good if he didn't have all these things happen for him. Maybe, I don't know. But he got the ball and he ran with it with what he ran with. Like, Shawn retired and DX should have been dead in the water. And he became the leader of DX. And while, again, he was not a main event star during that time, DX was still super over with him as the face of it. And that worked. And then he became the world champion as a heel, first working with China and then with the, then with the stuff involving what's it called? Hunter, the Helmsley McMahon alliance, the McMahon Helmsley alliance, and that was good. That was good stuff. Like, it was young. It was his initial foray into the main event scene, but he was very convincing as a foil for The Rock and for Stone Cold Steve Austin during that time. For Mick Foley, he had a classic match at the Royal Rumble with Mick Foley. A couple classic matches with Mick Foley during that time. He did his thing during that era. He proved that he could stand. And then Evolution comes. Evolution, the idea of it probably is better than some like the actual individual matches and feuds. But they're still an iconic brand, an iconic stable, and he's the face of it. Again, you can't separate him from what you love about Evolution. Like, he's one of the greats. He's legitimately one of the greats. I don't know why people want to change this because of the fact that they don't like his booking, or we want to go back to, well, he buried other guys. And there are things that sucked about his career that I didn't like. Like, obviously, in case you didn't know, I'm a black man. What happened with Booker T and WrestleMania, that was BS. Like, the promo, I'm a little weird, and other black people feel differently. Other people feel differently. The promo, like, it doesn't feel good, but the payoff is supposed to be Booker T supposed to beat him. So if you have that kind of promo where you're doing these kind of like racial innuendos about you're not the kind of guy that's supposed to actually win a world championship, you're just here to entertain. You're not an actual wrestler. Go do a spin a Rooney for me. Like, it definitely pushes the envelope, and I wouldn't have wrote it, but it doesn't. I don't take like this crazy offense to it, because if you do the story right, Booker T is supposed to then win. That's the whole point of this, is that Triple H underestimates him, and Booker T is actually just great talent that is being underutilized. And do we blame Triple H for Vince McMahon telling him to do this, or not having the stones to tell Vince McMahon Booker T needs to go over because of how you pushed me? I don't know, but I don't put that on Triple H. He's the performer doing the lines, and it's his father-in-law. You could say maybe that he has more pull because of that. I could argue he has less pull because of that, because it's his damn family. So I don't know. So I there are plenty of moments, and Spencer Seeks also mentioned that he ruined the summer of Punk. Yeah, what happened with Kevin Nash and everything that went down with that, him going over Punk, that shouldn't have happened either. Yeah, I mean, people have their beef with Triple H. I've had my beef with Triple H. To be clear, like I just mentioned one. And I thought that there were, he was convincing as a heel. I thought that the booking between Rock was a little too even for my liking. Rock was still a much bigger star. I don't think that Rock should have had such a huge problem beating Triple H. But it made Triple H a star, and he was a convincing heel, and it did make me hate him. But I don't know. This whole thing of like, let's hate Triple H the wrestler, I'm like, what? He gave Undertaker one of the best matches of his career at the end of an era. Match with him and Shawn Michaels as the special guest referee. Well, I don't get the idea of that we now hate Triple H. We hate that meme with Josh Peck. We hate Triple H. We effing hate Triple H. I feel that actually is now like the world now. And again, the booking hasn't been great. Though, again, my friend Lucas Goldman will tell you, Triple H is not a dummy when it comes to wrestling. If you hate the booking, if it doesn't make sense to you, maybe it tells you Triple H is not the one pulling the strings. And I'll leave you with that. That'll do it for this edition of 40 Days and 40 Nights. I want to thank you guys so much for checking me out. Again, you can catch all of the episodes of 40 Days and 40 Nights wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, we're streaming live on YouTube, New Generation Media. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And the episodes also remain and stay posted there. We're also live on X, EJ_Stewart, where the video also, I believe, lives. So you can watch it on X if you want to do that as well. And Instagram Live, where the video will not live. But still, thank you for those who are checking me out here on Instagram Live this evening. I'll be back later, midnight, not on New Generation Media, but on WFAN New York, where I'll be doing a 5-hour program talking New York sports. So we'll get into probably some of this stuff that we talked about today, but other stories happening around the city and in the tri-state area, as we call it. We're getting revved up for hopefully a strong second half of the next season. I got some stuff to talk about regarding Mike Brown and some of the comments he made about new addition Jeremy Sohan and what it means for the rotation. So we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. It's going to be a great show. Make sure you stay locked in if you want to. If you're up late or you're on the West Coast and you want to catch more of your boy EJ, head over to the Odyssey app. It's free. And check out WFAN from midnight to 5 a.m. Eastern Time. I will be live. And obviously, if you're in the city, if you got the old school radio, turn on 101.9 FM. That's where you can catch me. All right, that's going to do it. As long as I hit this music, and this computer can stop going so freaking slow, I can't wait to turn this computer off today. I think the computer is like, yo, we've had enough, man. When is this thing over? Well, technically, we have 11 days left. 11 full days left, computer. So thank you for rocking with me, computer, for as long as you have, even though you seem to be not behaving at all today. I want to thank you guys, the audience, for checking me out. This was another fun show. Again, I'm live, midnight, at the Fan. Be there or be square. And we got some fun guests coming up. Tomorrow, Thursday night, Manny Rodriguez makes his return. So that's going to be really exciting. Bob Custis, when I'm on the Fan, again, midnight Eastern Time. Manny Rodriguez tomorrow night, 6:30. That's going to be fun. We'll talk about that more tomorrow. I'm EJ Stewart. See you later.